Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Wrestling Hour right here on Podcast Heat Wrestling. I'm very excited to be here. Dave Sturchio alongside the guiding light himself with a very, very busy and important weekend coming up. Josh Chernoff. Josh, how we doing today, pal?
I'm doing really well. I just picked up my my new suit for tomorrow. Tomorrow, live at the MJN Center, ACW. You'll be there. You'll get to call the match you'll get to call the matches with me, which will be exciting. I mean, maybe I get to call them with you, right?
Is this like, and this is, I don't want to make this I don't want to downplay anything we've done at WrestlePro, because WrestlePro has been like home base for me since like the inception and even before that, right? So everything I've done for WrestlePro is a lot of fun, but like this has to be as close as it could possibly get to being as if we've made it into a bigger space because of just, I guess, production value and hype videos and shit like that. Because they put out a thing yesterday about your match, and my voice is narrating basically the whole thing. And it was like, I felt like really
sounded really good. Like, not to kiss your ass, but it really, like, because you know when to get those sound bites in there too, which is important. Because some people don't. You'll hear a commentary where it's just like, oh wow, that's really something, and it's like, great. I can't wait to throw that into the the My Way promo. But no, man, it's they're doing an amazing job over there at ACW.
Your personal feelings with Vic and Hale aside, they're definitely doing the right thing over there.
No, look, I mean, if Vic and Hale of the Now have anything to do with production and stuff, then hats off to them. They're way better at that than they are at wrestling. But look, Vic and Hale, a lot of people, I do implore people to go online at this is ACW. This_is_ACW. Because they've got videos up there like Dave was mentioning, but you can see the whole story. And that's what's cool is, like, I love stories in professional wrestling, and this is one that the Now has been forced to begrudgingly tell because we're forcing them to, with Sent to Slaughter and myself. That's Dan.
I mean, it goes beyond the wrestling ring or the MJN Center, like, not for nothing. And I can't condone this, neither can ACW, but you guys crashing that guy's poor wedding. And then on top of that, you're at the Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame with legends in the building like Trish Stratus and stuff like that, and you're out there just interrupting and making a scene. Like, first of all, you're a prick for that, but second of all, that's cinema. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it turned out to be a great video, and I think, look, this place, I'm almost positive it's going to be a sellout, and
I think
you're
so
welcome.
Too.
You're welcome for that.
All you, buddy. I
think, and Trish, I talked to Trish. Trish is a big fan of mine, as I'm a big fan of hers too. She's done great stuff. But Trish is a big fan of mine, and actually told me live in front of everybody that she has my back if the Now was to mess with me. That's interesting. She said that she called out, "I'll have your back."
I didn't expect. I didn't take Trish for the heel type in this part of her career. But anyway, I digress with all that.
We're the baby faces.
Check out ACW.
It's live on Triller. It's live on Triller TV. Dave and I were once live on Triller TV. Now we are home in the bosom of Podcast Heat. And we thank everybody for joining us. Anyone who's watching right now, hey, you want to talk to us? Because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about today, and we want some opinions. So hit us up with those super chats. All right, we would really appreciate that, and then we'd be able to interact with you. And I'm actually, speaking of getting hot, man. So this weather is ridiculous. I'm going to take
freezing
my
shirt off too. Baguettes off over here.
Dude, I wore a hoodie and all that because I'm like, man, it's going to be freezing in my office here, because my office is normally, if it's cold outside, it's cold. Apparently, we're retaining heat. Maybe I have so much heat from what's going on with the Now and Sent to Slaughter that it's following me.
Have you been on the text threads this morning? If anybody has heat right now, it's me.
Oh yeah. Well, I've got like good heat. You've got like
I got heat that I didn't ask for. I don't know, man. I'm having a rough start to the Friday. But speaking of rough Fridays, so there's somebody else out there in the wrestling world. It's having a rough Friday today, and that would be Mr. Andrade, a professional wrestler who has recently left the WWE, and we all know the story behind that. But it's gotten a bit layered, Josh. There is some fine print going around in these TKO deals with the WWE that I had no idea that this was a thing. And shout out to Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful for digging a little bit. He is a journalist after all, one of the good ones out there that we don't necessarily despise. I can't speak for all the rest of the journalists out there, but this guy does his job, and he found some language in a WWE contract that really raised some significant red flags across the professional wrestling landscape. Because the dream, Josh, when you get into professional wrestling, what's the dream? The dream is to get to the WWE because that's the promised land.
Well, not for those people who lie and say that it's not their dream.
Right. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that are full of crap, but I'm saying like that is the goal, right? And when you get to a major organization like this, much like any other major organizations, the NFL, MLB, NBA, UFC, right? There's significant language in all contracts to protect both sides. You got to protect the talent, aka the player, or you got to protect the brand, aka the organization. So what we have found out, or they have found out, and I don't want to be, telling any lies here because I read through what he wrote, but it seems to me that there is a fat clause in there saying, once you're terminated or once something happens to your contract, you are not allowed to do anything in the pro wrestling or MMA space for a year.
I'm going to see real quick if I can bring this up just for,
Just at least read it. Yeah, read it word for word so we don't, tell any tales out of school. But this is significant. This means if you're in the WWE right now and you're living your dream, which again, it is probably your dream if you're in the world of professional wrestling. If you're living this dream and you feel like you've been slighted or you're not being used correctly or your booking kind of stinks and you're just like, you know what? I'd probably be so much better on like a TNA scale or an AEW or maybe even surfing the indies like a Cardona would, right? All that to be said, you can't get out. And if you do get out, there is some significant repercussions. What the hell are you supposed to do for a year, Josh?
Yeah, a year is a decade when it comes to TV and
on your physical condition too.
That as well, right? So, okay, here we go. I'll read some of this here. Obviously, it's just an excerpt of what we have from Fightful. Upon termination of this agreement by promoter for breach of the terms hereof, wrestler shall not work, appear, or perform in any capacity for any professional wrestling, sports entertainment, mixed martial arts, and or ultimate fighting organization, promotion, or entity not owned or controlled by promoter or any affiliated or subsidiary company thereof.
Your life is over for a year, pal.
In the United States, which is something to think about, in the United States for a period of up to 1 year from the date of such
all of a sudden the stock for New Japan just went through the roof.
As specified by promoter in the notice of termination, provided, however, that if no lesser period is specified by promoter in the notice of termination, such period shall be 1 year. There's also a follow-up that says, in no circumstances whatsoever shall either party to this agreement be liable to the other party for any punitive or exemplary damages, and all such damages, whether arising out of the breach of this agreement or otherwise, are expressly waived. What that means,
I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail.
No, so what that means in particular is you can't go to WWE and go, well, hey, now I can't make money, so you guys owe me X. You can't sue them for damages.
You can't file for unemployment, is what you're saying.
Well, you can't. No, you can't go after. I don't know if you can file for unemployment, but you can't go after WWE and say, hey, you're not letting me work for a year. Here's what I stood to make, and I'm going to sue you for that. You're waiving that right. So the other thing is, one thing that is worth pointing out is that they can go to Japan, they can go to Mexico. Where in Mexico, right? I mean, there's CMLL, but you're not going to AAA. Although, fun fact, you're allowed to go to AAA because
even though they're owned and consumed by the WWE and TKO,
if AAA, let's say, and I don't know exactly how it works, but let's say AAA wanted to hire them, you are allowed because it did clearly state you can't work for anything that is not owned by TKO. So AAA is technically owned by TKO. Therefore, you could go, AAA theoretically could hire you, because I'm sure they have their own ability to do hiring and firing, just in the way that WWE and UFC do, right? They don't, not everything has to be, I think AAA can make their own decisions, whoever's in charge of hiring there. It can be overridden, I'm sure. But
I mean, look, again, there's a lot of language, and I would hope that certain WWE superstar, not so much Andrade. And again, Andrade for me never moved the needle. So it's like if he's on TV or off TV, I didn't really care as a consumer. However, he's a human being, and he's a good, talented wrestler, talented enough to make the WWE and get those original contracts and AEW twice and whatever else. But what I'm thinking is, like, I'm thinking about this logically as a performer slash talent slash whatever, right? Let's just say I got hired finally as a play-by-play guy, right? And I got this contract that's probably about a stack of papers this high. And I'm reading through this, and they're like, hey, listen, if we decide to go in another direction, your broadcast dream is over for a year. Good luck finding something else. Like, if I'm that, I'm not signing that. I'm sorry. Like, there's like, who the hell is signing these things?
So this is an interesting thing, because I was just listening to Nick Nemeth's interview with Chris Van Vliet.
Oh, so was I.
Yeah, it was a great listen. And he talked about the contracts, and he talked about the differences in the contracts from when he was given a developmental deal in OVW and when he was main roster, and as time, and when he was in NXT, and like what happens with these different contracts. I think his was probably the same for NXT when they sent him there. But the point he was making was, like, in the beginning, developmental, it was like a 12-page document. And then when it was like the real contract, it was like a book.
But do you remember what he said? He was like, I don't care what's in that thing, I'm signing it.
And that's the point, because he said his parents wanted a lawyer to look at his first developmental deal contract.
As you should.
Yes. And the lawyer was like, I've never told, and I'm paraphrasing the attorney, but in essence, I've never told a client not to sign something, but I am telling you, do not sign this. Insane. Because of the language that was in there. And Nick, like most anyone else in his position, responded with, this is my dream, I'm signing this.
Right.
And it almost in a way reminds me of, like, you ever watch the TV show Supernatural?
No, but I've heard of it.
It was a great show, tremendous show, but there was they had their, like, Crossroads Demon, which I know they didn't create. That's Crossroads Demon as a lore, but it's the concept of the Crossroads Demon, which is you're going to sell your soul to that demon for whether it's money, fame, sell your soul, but whatever it is, right? So it's coming in here, and who do they always target? They'll target the young, struggling musician or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the story that's always told us. They sell their soul, they become this major star, and then it's time to collect. Well, listen, years later, you're now grown, you're mature, maybe you've started a family, now you've had all of the success, but now you're like, oh man, I don't know that I kind of want to just go to hell for eternity now that I've sold my soul. Like, but as a kid, you're like, and when I say kid, I'm talking teenager, I'm talking 20s. You're like, man, I'll do anything to get this job.
Well,
and no, think about all the things
I don't mean to cut you off in the middle of the story, but it's so funny because, bro, and again, I'm not trying to throw Fight TV under the bus, but remember when we got our contracts in the email?
Yeah.
Who was the one like, dude, just sign it, dude, sign it. It was me, right? And I was like, this is my first signed contracted deal that I've ever signed in my life. So I was like, no, it's fine. You're like, yeah, I know, but it's got this, and this in it. So let's just make sure. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter, bro. and that's the mentality.
And I was the same way as you with my first deal that I signed. And as time goes on, and it's always tough, man. It's tough when you're looking at, you can sign this, you can work here, you can get paid X number of dollars, or you cannot, and we'll go find someone else, and, good luck to you. You're like, well, crap. Like, I don't want, you're in a position where you're like, I don't want to lose this for myself because they will just move on to someone else. That's the nature of any form of entertainment or sports, and they will find somebody else, right? Unless you are that one in a million, and unless and not only do you have to be a one in a million, they have to recognize that you're a one in a million. And these places don't recognize talent often. You know, they'll look and go, oh yeah, they're a dime a dozen, not understanding what you can bring to the table, which comes back to what you're talking about with ACW and the voiceover and stuff like that. Man, that's when I was watching that, I'm thinking, and before everyone gets hot, I'm not saying you're the next Jim Ross, but what I'm saying is it gave that feeling, right? You knew that Jim Ross was always going to, he worked in sound bites and worked in just, I mean, he was incredible with everything he did, but that man was going to give you sound bites that when you went back and did those video packages, you were going to have it. The problem is people look at it, and especially with, and we're getting off track here, but when people look at commentators, especially, same with managers, as I've experienced now that I'm managing, manager of the decade, of course, but what I've experienced is that people go, oh, you're a commentator? Yeah, okay. Oh, you want how much money? Well, that's fine. I'm just going to have Joe Blow over here who watched wrestling a couple of times because they can talk about it. What do they have to do? Oh, clothesline. And it's not only is it disrespectful to the work and the art that we train in, but it's short-sighted in not understanding what you can bring to the table, which is why ACW is so great to have seen that. And hey, shout out to WrestlePro also, who threw you and I together, you know, initially, and was just like, oh, we got to keep this, you know, this is good.
They know what they found.
Yeah. And so, you know, look, but going back to the contract, so there's a lot to unpack with the contract. And oh, by the way, we do have a poll going on YouTube. So if you're watching this on the Twitter, feel free to go on over to YouTube and give us a little vote ski. Is it fair for WWE and TKO to have a 1-year non-compete clause for talent fired for cause? And I'm curious what everybody's going to say about it.
So fired for cause, meaning the Andrade situation where it was potentially it was leaked or whatever that again, you don't know what's true and what's not lately, and that sucks. AI is a mother. But like it's a failing drug test. So there's your cause, right? But if somebody's contract runs out and they don't renew, that doesn't apply to what we're talking about here.
So here's where,
right? I mean, Jesus Christ, if that's not the case, this is right. Criminal.
And all of this is to, you know, our understanding of it. Obviously,
right.
You know, we're not attorneys. We just play one on TV, but the shout out to Mark Starling. But the way I see it though, the way this gets kind of kabuki-ish, if you will, is let's say you haven't done anything to really warrant being released, and you just go like, man, I'm not happy here. I'm sitting in catering. I don't want to do this. I want to go out and see what else I can do. Like so many people have. Like a young man by the name of Cody Rhodes once did that and said, please release me from my contract. And they granted his release. It is so easy to find cause to let somebody go. They can, trust me, these attorneys and TKO, they can find cause. They can find that one time that you were in the bathroom when they called you to ringside for a meeting and you did, oh man, you know, that held up everything. And the amount of, you know, we didn't get the merch stuff set up until later. And then, you know, that cost us X number. They'll make up whatever it is. So the question is, you go, I'm not interested. I'm in catering. I don't really know. They would, you know, I'd like my release. Okay, we'll give you your release as long as, so here's another thing, right? They can just hit and go, we'll give you your release, but you know, this applies because you're asking to breach it, even though we haven't breached it. And the fact that you're asking to breach it, we could consider a breach. Therefore, you know, and this is, so to me, you're locked in. If they want, excuse me, pardon me, it's my coffee. But they are locked in. The talent is locked in for that year. In my opinion
that's got to be,
in my opinion of TKO's opinion, I should say. Now,
right, but like that has to be as close to illegal, you know, like that kind of language should not exist in a world where people are trying to make a living doing what they love. Like if you're a professional wrestler and you make it to the WWE and then something happens where they fire you, they're basically telling you, hey, by the way, you can't do what you are like. The only thing you know is pro wrestling, but I'm sorry, for a year, you're going to ride the pine and you can't do anything like that. That to me, the poll on YouTube or anybody, you could poll 1 trillion people. If anybody says that this is fair, then they clearly don't have. I can't even fathom anybody's thinking like, yeah, you know what, this is a good idea. They're protecting themselves from who? You know what I mean? Like if somebody gets fired, right, for cause or whatever the case may be, if somebody's just like, hey, it's like me working at another studio or something like that, right? And then like somebody said like, hey, by the way, you're fired, and good luck opening up another studio. You can't do it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You're taking away my free will on what I can and cannot do in my own time when I'm no longer employed for you? There's nothing about this that is fair to anybody. And again, Andrade is a loose example because again, he's not like, if this happened to Cody Rhodes right now, people would be up in arms and it'd be like, oh my God, shut down TKO. Like, let's sue everybody. Let's get involved. Like Andrade for me is not going to raise too many eyebrows, but some people that are on the come up, that are the goals are WWE, you may now also say, you know what? Tony Khan might be a little bit better to work for right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is big.
So here's on the other. So I did a little bit of research that I have here and of the difference between cause and without cause, right? So here's some examples. And all of this is hearsay from us looking at, we don't have, these aren't specifics, but here are typical examples that count as cause in wrestling or entertainment contracts. Failing to show up for scheduled appearances, matches, or events. Violating company policies or code of conduct, fighting backstage, drug use, or misconduct. And we've heard the rumor and innuendo about Andrade, right? And again, we don't know. We weren't there. I wasn't holding the cup, you know? Bad mouthing the company publicly in a way that hurts its reputation. And boy, oh boy, have people really screwed up on that one. How many people, we've even recently, NXT has made a comment about that. We talked about, there are people in AEW who've done the same thing, but when they go on, they're unhappy with something, they go, well, I'm going to tweet about it, right? Well,
listen, CM Punk went on Colt Cabana's podcast and basically said that the WWE is legit.
He was gone. He was already gone.
Yeah, but it's still
and
like they brought him back
and they sued him for it.
Right.
So, but okay, disobeying creative or contractual instructions, refusing to perform agreed storylines, illegal activity, arrest, conviction, whatever, breach of confidentiality, leaking company plans or scripts. So, assuming this is all accurate and would hold up in a court of law, disobeying creative? Do you know how easy it would be for someone to say, I want my release, and they go, well, we're going to think about it. But in the meantime, we'd really love for you to do this story tonight on Raw. And they hit them with something where they just go, whoa, not a chance. I'm not doing that. And they go, oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Make a little note of that.
Write that down.
Okay, we've decided, yeah, we'll grant you your release. Unfortunately, here's the bad news. Remember that storyline last week when we asked you? So what I'm saying is, this is a heartless company, TKO. They do not care about anything but profits. They certainly don't care that mom and dad are going to take little Johnny for Christmas to WWE, because that ain't happening, right? So because they can't afford it. So the thing is, like, you look at this and there's multiple levels of this conversation. There's the moral ambiguity of this, right? There's the is this morally right? Well, 9 times out of 10, when you're talking about a contract for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you're not going to find much morals from the corporation's end, right?
Fair.
Other than don't breach whatever we as a company deem morally appropriate. But the other side of it is looking at the without cause, right? And that's where you hear WWE release them. There's a 90-day no compete, because that's when they've just gone, you've been great, we're releasing you. So everyone is getting up in arms about this right now of like, holy crap, this is in everyone's TKO contracts. But some could argue these NXT people that were just released. I mean, they were released and as long as they were released without cause, which it seems like they were released without cause, then they're fine. They have 90 days and it is what it is. Now, and I'll be honest,
There shouldn't even be, honestly, dude.
For NXT, honestly, I don't know if it's 90 days or whatever.
It can't be. It can't be. There's no way that would stand up, man. Like, you're going to tell somebody, like, we've been trying to develop you here in developmental, technically, even though NXT is basically a third brand at this point, right? But, like, you know, you can't possibly tell me that they're going to make somebody wait 3 months before they can pop up somewhere. That's insane to me.
Okay, but listen to it. Listen to it this way. Wes Lee was just released, right?
Yeah.
Hell of a talent.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a former member of the Rascals in TNA. So you could look at that and say, all right, he wasn't developing into what we wanted here. But, and we're going to ignore for a second that they have a working relationship with TNA, and I couldn't see it really being much of an issue. But ignore it. Let's say they were separate, right? They could look at it and they could say TNA is a competitor. Yeah, we went 90 days on him. He's not right for us, but he shows up tomorrow. That's going to move the needle. And for TNA, and that might move the needle ever so slightly enough that they go, oh, I didn't realize so-and-so is over here at TNA right now. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Hey, I really like that match. You know what? I'm going to tune in next week. And the thing is, there are only so many hours in a week that somebody can consume professional wrestling.
Right.
So if you start to fall in love with a story or a personality in another company, and you have to go, all right, which one am I watching this week? Man, I got to know what's going on AEW. I got to know what happens with this story. These are the risks, right? At the same time, they've invested time and money in building up a character. They want to cool it off. That's why there's a 90-day no compete. They want to cool that off before you go somewhere else. Because look at Andrade. No one cares about Andrade. Okay, objectively, no one cares about Andrade except for when he popped up like a day later on AEW, because there was nowhere on your radar could he pop up on you're not even thinking that this is possible. And that gave you that little jolt of the Monday Night Wars. That little Rick Rude action there. Exactly. But what made that time period so crazy was there were no non-competes at the time. So you never knew what was going to happen. All of a sudden, here's 1-2-3 Kid with a goatee sitting in the crowd, counting 6 on his fingers, right?
Luger showing up at the first Nitro.
Luger showing up. DiBiase with the NWO. That was the other way too. Paul White showing up at the WWE again. You know what I mean? Like, or when he debuted. So much though of that initial NWO storyline after the Hogan turn, so much of what allowed that to start building was when DiBiase showed up out of nowhere as the supposed benefactor, right? When Waltman showed up. Those were things were just like, holy crap, like what's going to happen next? It happened later on with Rick Rude, as you mentioned, but Bryan Adams, right? Like there, and we can look back on it now and say like Bryan Adams, but you got to think at the time that was Crush, right? Now we know that they used him or didn't use him well, at all, but for a split second that mattered. And like, there's also the other side of it, which is kind of the childish side, you could say, in a way.
Well, this whole thing seems very childish, to be honest with you.
But it's the childish side where they look at it and they go, screw them. Oh, they're competing with us? Screw them. We're not letting our guy go there. Well, why not? Because we don't have to. Well, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, it would be really nice. No, we're not doing it. And that's, so it's tough. It's a tough spot. Then there's another argument, Dave. There's another side of this.
Is there?
independent contractors.
Sure.
We're still saying they're independent contractors. Can you do this to an independent contractor?
No,
I don't think you can.
absolutely not. If it's in, so when you, I'll, full transparency, I almost went through this with specific talent that's coming up for Fight Factory, coming up at the Starland Ballroom on November 15th. Get your tickets now.
Go.
But like we were approached, or Chris Payne was approached by somebody asking about a spot, right? Because they're going to be at the big event in New York the day of our show.
Sure.
And they said if there's any room, they would love to work with us. We're like, shit, you're a name. Like you guys will draw. You'll move the needle. Absolutely. Let's talk. Let's negotiate. We did, and it was done. Next thing you know, we get to announce. What?
It was Mr. Hughes.
We get to announce the Righteous, right? The Righteous is coming, the tag team, right? And to me, they're on that like, okay, everybody needs to have these guys type tag team, right? And I think I think the world of those guys. I really do. So we're really excited to have them. However, it got some backlash from a show that they're booked on the following day, right? The following day, they're booked somewhere else for another company, right? And all of a sudden, they're like, well, I guess I should contact that company and split the flight and travel, right? And it's like, what do you mean? Like they came to us, and now you have another company saying, well, we paid for them to come on in. Like they're going to the big event. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like they're over here, and then they have a show. So you are now, as the independent contracting promoter, telling two grown men what they can and cannot do the night before your show. That is beyond anything I've ever heard. And I'm like,
yeah. And that's happened with other people as well. We're not going to name any names, but somebody who said, the Righteous is in a position where they can go, yeah, I don't care. That's fine. Whatever. I'm not worried about it. Other people are not. Other people go, well, they're paying my travel so they can kind of make that call for me, which is not true. And
then you better put that shit in your contracts going forward. If your agreements, or your texts, or your emails, or whatever the case may be, you want a booking rate, it's X amount of dollars. You pay for my flight, and oh, by the way, if you pay for all this, I promise not to work anywhere else on that weekend. So it's all about you guys.
And then the rate, you want to work that into your deal?
Work it in. Go nuts.
And if that's the case, then your rate should go up.
Correct.
Because you're getting paid per day.
One time. Right.
Right. You can't say like. There's the old saying in wrestling, like, I don't get paid to wrestle. I get paid to leave my house. That's what you're getting paid for. You're getting paid for nobody is charging what they're charging to get in the ring and do what they love for, 6 to 15 minutes, right? They're charging to get on an airplane, to have to spend a night away from their family, to have to sleep in a bed that's not theirs. That's what they're charging for, right? So if you're now saying you're going to be gone for this entire weekend, but you're only allowed to work one of those days, well, okay, pay me for the other day that I'm not able to work because I could get a booking then. That's just my opinion.
It's wild. It's wild. The landscape is weird. And look, this is a lesson. Obviously, it's a lesson to make sure that you also, if you are signing with a major organization, to make sure you just go over your stuff, dot your I's, cross your T's, get all the punctuation right, all that fun stuff. You want to make sure you're doing it right. What TKO and WWE are doing right now, to me, lately, as much as, look, we're both huge WWE fans. We've been fans forever, right? But now that you and I, along with a lot of our colleagues, are within the business, the walls of the business, it's starting to make WWE look very petty and very shitty. Like it's just not good people all of a sudden. Like you look at Triple H, you look at the people in charge that are on screen, right? And you see a lot of the public appearances with Triple H and Stephanie, and then you have like the talent that you see, Nick Khan even sometimes. But there's something about the person that's above all them that just seems to be not in the know as to how like human kindness works. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any
devil's
sense.
Advocate. But to play the devil's advocate, there for every person in the business that deserves to be treated honestly because that's how they would conduct business, there's 5 who you need to be a hard ass. You need to have these rules in place. because they will walk all over you. They will take advantage. They will shake your hand and while with one hand and stab you in the back with the other at the same time. So looking at it from the business standpoint, yeah, they kind of have to protect themselves in that regard.
Listen, I get the business part of it. I just, like I said, I think it's, if you're looking at the moral part of it, there's not a soul on this earth that can look at these things and say, yeah, no, they're doing the right thing.
But we also say that, Andrade doesn't move the needle, which I don't think he does. But there's also a precedent. And when you're talking about legal ramifications, precedent is incredibly important. When, with companies that I've worked for or run in the past, there have been times where we have had to dig in on things that have cost us a lot of money in attorney fees to dig in on stuff that we didn't even care about, but we had to, because if we didn't, and it was something we did care about, legally, you could point to a precedent that we set.
Right.
So I understand in some regards, because right now, Andrade, who cares? Randy Orton? You know what I'm saying? Not that Orton, I don't believe in a million years, but here's the other thing. We're not talking about Triple H and we're not talking about Vince McMahon. We're talking about TKO, who does not care. They're not friends with Randy Orton. They don't care. Right. So they look at it and go, for all they know, Randy Orton, like, oh, I don't know, maybe he'll go
poke on the wheel, man. That's all it is. But yeah, listen, it's a harsh conversation to have. We've talked 36 minutes worth of TKO and their contract.
And I do want to say, from the votes that we have here, 17% say yes, it's fair. 83% say no. So if you're in that 17%,
you're a lawyer.
Make a comment. You're not saying anything. You're not saying anything here. We're not getting any comments here. So if you're in that 17%,
don't mind. Say it with your chest.
Yeah. Tell us what you're thinking.
Just crazy. Like I said, it's a crazy concept. And speaking of concepts, there's also something I wanted to touch on. We briefly spoke about it through text last night, even with the group chat that we have with the Fight Factory guys. Is that the WWE seems to not only look TKO and contracts aside and everything that we've just been talking about, that's a whole nother level. They have, within the last few years, dating back to 205 Live, right? We'll start there.
Yeah.
They've thrown a lot of crap at the wall and they're trying to see what sticks. Is it me, or is it just if you're not Raw or SmackDown or NXT, it's just not going to work for me, brother. You know what I mean? I'm looking at, you can make a couple examples. 205 Live, right? It went, it happened, great. WWE Speed, it went, it happened, okay. And then now, what we saw
ECW.
over the last, what?
ECW.
It came, it went. We got CM Punk out of the deal, right? There's a lot of good that came from that, but then also it just went to the wayside. So it feels like there's a lot of hey, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And I guess when you're trying to evolve a company past your Raws and your SmackDowns and your NXTs, you got to try some new things. But what I'm really starting to get disappointed in is this I think it was around a year ago now, because it seems like people's contracts are running up in this WWE ID system, right? So we talked a lot about this leading up until WrestleMania this past year, because we were covering it. We knew that they were going to have a showcase and crown a champion, and nobody really knew what was going on with WWE ID. Nobody knew the concept or where they were going with it. And now all of a sudden, some of their prominent guys that you ID'd are tweeting and putting out there that I am no longer with WWE. My ID ran out. The contract is over. And now WWE is putting out more tweets saying who's next to be WWE ID. So is this to you, Josh, right now? Is this a formula that's working, or is it something that people are just it's something to do at this point to give some notoriety and look like they're giving back to the independent wrestling scene?
I think whether or not it's working depends on what the intended outcome was, right? So we can look at it, and if you're looking at, some of the talent that's been released, from their point of view, it's not working. From WWE's point of view, maybe it is. Maybe this is their way of keeping a closer eye on the talent, having them kind of under their thumb a little bit and get a vibe for some things. Maybe maybe the entire thing is kind of, as you said, just WWE being out there and telling people, look how we're giving back and we're helping with the indies and all. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's it. And in that case, it's got people. You got an indie show now, and you've done this. Fight Factory Wrestling has had WWE ID logos on there. So now WWE is getting publicity. They're getting marketing off of your marketing money, right? Their logo is now showing up when you think professional wrestling anywhere. It's showing up, and subconsciously it's telling people WWE is the biggest thing out there because we're so excited. We have Marcus Mathers, a WWE ID prospect.
Well, he is, I want to say, one of the rare breeds. The reason why I say that is because you have WWE producers and WWE current talent. I'm talking about TJ Wilson and Natty Neidhart. Those guys are going in heavy in the paint on Marcus Mathers, saying this dude is the most coachable, likable dude, an incredible talent. They're putting him over in separate posts.
That's all true.
And it is all true because we've worked with him. We're going to be working with him in a couple weeks, right? He's coming back to Fight Factory. So I'm excited to have him. But that's one guy, man. One guy out of like how many people that they've ID'd. And if that's the goal for WWE, like, hey, listen, we're going to throw a dart at 100 talents, right? If we can pull just one of these guys to be a future great in this industry and under our thumb, like maybe that is the goal. Maybe they are okay with, listen, our marketing dollars, we don't got to spend nothing. Fight Factory is going to put WWE all over that shit, right? It's going to be great. They're going to be talking about how wonderful this star is and wonderful this star, because there's two opposite sides of the spectrum. No offense. And again, if I catch heat for this, I don't care. But like, Marcus Mathers was a perfect example of what the WWE is looking for. The other WWE ID talent that was on our show that day, not so much. You know what I mean? Not so much as far as the professionalism and way they carry themselves. Like, I'm just like, do you think that could be the goal? Like, they're like, here, 100 darts. If they can find one in the bullseye, we are golden.
I mean, I think that's kind of what they do with everyone. When you see the performance center class of 2026, whatever, right?
Yeah, but they got to just keep in mind, like with NXT, they got to pay all those guys. They're a payroll. These guys are not. So it's a different element, I would say.
But what are they getting paid?
I don't know. They're getting apparently, from what I gathered, they're WWE would pay for their travel to go to these places, and that's why they can book their fees however they want to book them to make the extra money, but they don't have to travel, right? They don't have to pay for travel.
You're talking about everybody in WWE ID once a month. Their pay is equaling, I don't know, a day of main roster talent. You know what I mean? Like it's.
I'm generally speaking, but what I'm saying is I'm looking at this as a whole, as the whole reason for this conversation is like, is this the next failed concept, or is this what they're really trying to get at here?
In my opinion, it's the next failed concept. I think it is. When it's all said and done, I think you're going to look back and be like, yeah, the WWE ID thing was kind of cool. And it didn't really, we thought we tried it. And what we realized was our previous method was better.
And this also stems from like LFG too, their show on A&E.
Oh, that's
what I mean? Like, I watched the first couple episodes. I'm like, this is so captivating. It's like Tough Enough. I love it. And they lost me like that. Horrible. They just lost me. It became so fake and fraud. It was like, dude, no.
It's a bunch of crap. And that was just bad. But again,
you say just bad. They're still doing it.
Well, that's the other thing, right? I'm not following by it. Like, I don't care at all because it's meaningless to me. But yeah, look, I think you never know who's going to break out as a big star. I think this is their version of looking at the indies in the same way that they're looking at, talent from, college football and stuff like that. It's not bad one way or the other, right? If it stops, it stops. If it keeps going, great. Maybe it puts another, bit of appearance on somebody. Like, but again, it's one of those things goes back to kind of the conversation we had before as far as contracts. Like, if you're offered WWE ID, even if you look at this and go, well, they're probably in a year going to let me go, I would look at that as an opportunity. What can I do this year, right? How can I benefit myself through this? I don't think really any of the talent has taken advantage of it. Like, honestly, think about if a guy with the mindset of a Matt Cardona had been WWE ID'd.
He'd be
That dude
signed
would have
already.
turned that into something. He would
Yeah.
have made that something. He'd be the WWE ID, right? Like, he would be like, so I don't know. It's, I feel like it's a missed opportunity for talent, a missed opportunity for WWE. Now, again, I don't know what they're told. Maybe they're told, oh, you can do this, but you can't mention WWE, right? Like, who knows what their rules are. But I don't know. I think it feels like a failed experiment. I think it, but why not? Let's say they get Marcus Mathers or Cappuccino Jones, right? And they end up becoming main roster stars. Okay, then was it a waste? Think about
No,
how
because
much
then you can
money
make
you
that,
put
then you can
out.
make it back tenfold on
I
merchandise
was
and
going to
this,
say,
that.
think about
I
how
get
much
it.
money you put out on the entire project. You're going to make that back if you
Also,
make one star.
Gun to your head in this process. There's been tweets out there for Cappuccino Jones because he is the WWE ID champion, right?
Right.
When he goes to all these independent wrestling promotions and he defends the title, it's like, oh, just so you guys know, if he loses, that person is now WWE ID. That has not happened yet. Do you foresee that ever happening?
If there is actual focus on WWE ID and actual oversight, I could see it happening, but it's happening because they've
They've chosen another WWE AD guy.
What a great way to announce that someone else has been signed by WWE.
And they have not done it yet. So they
earned it, right?
Talking about some splash news, bro. I'm talking like just for example, just most recently, my guy TJ Crawford, right, who's also in action this week, or I'm sorry, next month with Fight Factory. TJ Crawford just had a title match against Cappuccino Jones. Do you imagine if TJ Crawford was all of a sudden like, hey, by the way, I'm now WWE ID champion. I'm WWE ID'd. Like that would be incredible.
No, but it puts stakes too, right? It puts stakes on the match. So you go to this indie show and you're thinking to yourself, dude, I don't know. For all I know, he just signed with them, and this is how we're going to find out. And we're going to get to watch this title change. So it makes it that much more exciting.
That's cool because that does allow you to still have that unpredictability of these matches. Other than when AEW or TNA talent show up to your indie show and you look at that and you're like, they're not losing this match. Right? I mean, like this TNA champion is not losing this match on the independent. It's not going to happen. So like same thing goes for AEW, right? We all know the rules, right? It's just like, that's just the way it is. Sorry for peeling back the curtain there, but you know, that is what it is. If you, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And I believe we've even probably had this conversation on this show on from another time. But like, if you're going to allow your talent, AEW, TNA, to venture out and take independent bookings,
NWA,
well, fine, you know, that's most recently NWA. You should not also be able to dictate what happens in their said matches. Like, I don't care how much you think your boy is over. Like, it ain't it you have nothing to do with that promotion, so you shouldn't dictate what just happened. I just got a text the other day saying this person is AEW now. As of like 2 days ago, so you know what to do. And I'm just like, I guess, you know, like I guess I know what to do, but that's horrible, you know, like not to say that I didn't have the original plan already set in place anyway to kind of appease everybody, but like, you know, for me to be like, you know, you got to twist my arm just to make sure that the rules are met. Like, add yourself. It's wrestling, man. It's freaking pro wrestling. It's crazy.
It's wrestling. And look, first of all, I'm a firm believer that wins and losses don't matter more than the story.
Correct.
So you can lose a match, and let's say you're an AEW guy and you're wrestling at an indie promotion and you lose the match to this indie guy. That doesn't have to make you look bad. That could make you look better if it's done the right way. Right? Like, so it's just, but again, when you have your guys, you have to look at it this way, right? Imagine your Fight Factory guys are all under contract and they're Fight Factory people, but you're allowing them to take indie bookings. Do you want them going to some other place? And
I wouldn't allow it then. I wouldn't allow them to take bookings. Simple.
That's fair.
That's the simple solution.
No, I think that's, listen, I
Like
agree.
maybe make a tiered system. Like, all right, Moff's our champion right now, right? If I had a specific system in place, I'd say, Moff, if you want to go places, or I'll just say, look, my champions are off limits. You guys are champions here. You don't get to go to any other indie. I'm sorry, right? And if they don't like it, they can boo-hoo it and give the belt back. I don't give a shit. I'm saying, like, for those who are my mid-card guys, my up-and-coming guys, blah, 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 and you want to go take a booking somewhere else, rock on, get your reps, get your experience. I don't care what you do, win, loss, draw. I know what you mean to my company. You won't lose here, or you won't win here, or whatever the case may be. But if you're like your champion or somebody of note, then I would say, like, you know what? It's probably best that we don't allow them to go defend their championship when you know damn well that none of this can change hands, i.e. NWA.
Now, you don't have to, right. And now you don't have to worry about Danny Moff because you know he can't lose. Not allowed. He doesn't lose. He just doesn't. So,
if you look at the PWI 500 rankings, apparently he doesn't win at all. So,
now listen,
that's another story for another day. Or if you want to go scroll back, you can
in the archives here. But just because you lose doesn't mean, just because you don't lose doesn't mean you win.
Sometimes when you win, you really lose, and when you lose, you really win. Name that movie. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I couldn't pay attention because I was too busy taking a look.
White man can't
Fight
jump.
Factory exclusive, Fight Factory exclusive Danny Moff action figure. Right.
We got a couple. It's a beautiful figure, and I love the packaging. You sent us the packaging yesterday. Look at it. He even looks like a miserable human being as a freaking cartoon figure. And I love Moff. I do.
Gorgeous.
Imagine that.
I know.
But
I love
even
Moff
the Poughkeepsie Sucks one. That's a gorgeous
that's
gem. But listen, there's a couple minutes left before we get out of here. Speaking on current product, again, what we have here lately is all eyes lately are on John Cena and his final match. Who's it going to be? Right? We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. There's also storylines heading into Survivor Series. What's that going to look like? But just recently, it looks like there was a little bit of a flub up. Or not a flub up, but an injury that popped up according to what I've read. It looks like Seth Rollins did a coast to coast at Crown Jewel.
Yes. Screwed
up his shoulder a little bit. Look, we've gone down this road already with this injury, non-injury thing with Seth Rollins, right? He faked the knee injury just to make a amazing splash at WrestleMania, which I thought was like chef's kiss, right? It was great. But for this time, I think it's real. And I
don't see a point in doing it a second time.
Correct. So I think that this one's a real one. And what they did was they turned Braun Breaker on Seth Rollins on Raw in a matter of, and I know me and you have our gripes with these content creators that just like, right? And they're just watching and they're just like, I can't believe that. But it did make
chat.
Yeah, chat. You see that chat? But like, what I will say is a lot of their reactions, sometimes it's so stupid and expected. You're like, whatever. I don't care what they're reacting like. But people were literally wrapping up their show. They're like, all right, well, next week, it looks like they're still in cruise control. Oh, my God. Right? They just came out of nowhere. And you're like, yes, bravo, WWE. You smoked that
personally didn't experience that moment because some asshole tweeted out, or I'm sorry, not tweeted, texted me a picture of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed standing above Seth Rollins. And was just like, this happened. And I'm like, oh, I guess I just won't experience that in the way that other people.
Man, you got to get on my schedule, bro.
These texts need to be a spoiler-free zone.
I thought this is the trust tree. I thought this is a safe space.
It is safe. That's why I'm safely telling you.
All right, so I say all that to say we've been touting Braun Breaker. We sat down with Braun Breaker a couple SummerSlams ago. The guy you knew.
Take a look.
From the jump.
Oh, no, we don't have that queued up. All right. That's fine.
We know that from the jump. From the jump, he's a superstar in the making, right? He's got the lineage, he's got the attitude, he's got the size, the strength, the speed, all that. We know he's a main eventer. They pull this trigger right here and now. Is this going to work? Did they like, sometimes you prematurely pull these things and are like, I don't know about this. This was shock value. This was great. Seth's probably going to miss some time. He might actually, from what I read, have to vacate the belt because CM Punk's now the number one contender or something like that going into Saturday night's main event. and all of a sudden you might not have a champion. So like, where do you think, you put your booking hat on here, where do you think they go with all this?
I'm not as familiar with, a premature thing as you are, but I think, the
We'll walk right into that one.
there you are. No, here's what I would do, in my opinion. I would have it, vacated and have CM Punk and Braun Breaker, and have Braun Breaker win the title and have him hold it until Seth comes back.
Wow.
Seth comes back as a massive baby face and can take the title off of Breaker. And now Breaker is, is it too soon? Yeah.
But this is 100%. It's because
this is where we've gone with it. So the other side of it is that CM Punk beats Braun Breaker, becomes champion. And when Seth Rollins comes back, not only is he going, because we keep those shades of gray, not only is he going after Braun Breaker for turning on him, he's going after Braun Breaker for turning on him and making it so that CM Punk could become champion. Because had he not taken Seth Rollins out, Seth Rollins would have been able to control that CM Punk would never be champion. So actually now, putting my booking hat on, I think I would do that instead, because you're going to get more legs out of that.
I saw a very off the wall prediction. I don't know if it's even remotely possible, but if you've been watching Raw and SmackDown lately, you see that Roman Reigns is going through some shit, right? And now all of a sudden Seth Rollins is going through some shit, and Roman basically told the Usos, I don't want to see you guys till Christmas or something like that. Like he mouthed that, and that was caught by like Raw cameras. And then you got the injury to Seth. Who knows how long it's going to be? Do we live in a world that a certain somebody in AEW makes a return to the WWE and we get a reunited Shield against all of this?
That would be awesome.
Amazing.
I think you have a better chance of a Seth and Roman reunion against the Bronze. I don't think, in my mind, Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley would want to leave what he's doing to come back to WWE.
Because it's so much fun over there.
But it's fun when you're the one running the sandbox.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true.
And that's kind of where I don't know what he would want to do, unless he looks at it on another side and he goes, I've only got so many years left in my career. There's an expectation of what I'm going to do here in AEW where I'm going to bleed nonstop. But maybe I could go back to WWE where it's going to be a lot easier on my body
and not bleed as much.
Right. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's, and it's a different WWE than the one he left. So
that's true.
Maybe, who knows?
I don't know. I'm just hypothetically thinking about ways they can just really make this thing, like, who knows? Rollins might be out 8 months and this whole thing is just like too long. You know what I mean? You can't prolong it. Sure, when he gets back, he'll be a big baby face. Like, I remember, I think I was at the Extreme Rules where he came back from his first ACL, and he came back and he was the most over dude I've literally, the pop of that at that event that I was at was like, holy hell, like this is great. And it was unannounced, no music, no nothing. Huh?
He's a much better heel than he is a babyface, but he will be a massive babyface.
To me, he's intolerable to listen to as a heel. He really is.
I know, like, but that works.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
.
But anyway, listen, we've covered a lot today. Obviously, if you're watching this for the first time, please like the video. If you're subscribed to Podcast Heat Wrestling already, please continue to join us each and every Friday, usually in the 1 to 1:15 start time every Friday. We go live and this thing lives. And the first couple episodes, to believe it or not, based off the response and the view counts and everything like that, we're making some waves over here. So if you're interested in listening to this show more, please feel free to comment and like the video. And even in posts, like if we're not live, drop some comments. Let us know that you're watching, listening. We really appreciate everything that Podcast Heat Wrestling has done for us. And obviously, be sure to check out all of their programming. They are live like pretty much every day at this point. They have a fantastic lineup with some seriously hard-hitting former WWE stars, former WCW refs, former, WCW guys. There's a lot of content to consume right here on this channel, but we're just happy to be a part of it. So we hope you enjoyed today. If you join the conversation, follow us on Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Real
for
quick,
Dave Sturcio.
Dave,
and what?
Dave, real quick.
What?
I'm curious where you shop for like sporting goods and stuff.
I mean, depends on the day.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out before the Starland Ballroom Fight Factory show if there was a way to get Joey Janela some balls. And I don't.
He has been he's been
I was born
MIA.
with mine, so I don't know where.
Yeah, I mean yours are in Crowbar's wife's purse, but
no, mine are now encased in.
They're reattached based off of the hernia. How you feeling, by the way? Everything good? You working?
Oh, I feel like $1 million. All
right, great.
I'm good.
Well, listen, hopefully you have yourself a fun-filled weekend. I know I will, calling all the action for ACW alongside of you, but I know you have bigger fish to fry. Your tag team championships are on the line in a ladder match. You can check us out on Fight TV on Saturday night for Mischief Night. ACW's back again.
And then if you want to pop on over to 2025, you can go to Triller TV and you can watch it.
Them too. The whole, you know what? They're all just under one umbrella to me.
Joel, who does their social media there,
it
took him like 7 years to figure out how to change the handle on there. And I think he still hasn't on some other ones.
Probably not. That's all good. But listen, tune in. It'll be fun. It'll be a great night of wrestling. One of the biggest independent main events of all time, I want to say. Richard Holiday, who has been on fire lately, will defend his championship in a fatal four-way match against Matt Riddle, Matt Cardona, and Nick Nemeth. A fatal four-way. Incredible. Cannot wait to call that one.
Going to be amazing. The only thing is that's not the main event.
Yes, it is.
No, because Sent to Slaughter's wrestling.
Yeah, I know, but they could be like second and nobody would care. But anyway.
Still the main event. Doesn't matter.
That will do it for this episode of the Wrestling Hour for Dave Sturcio and Josh Chernoff. Josh, do your damn thing and hit that button. We will see you guys next time right here on the Wrestling Hour. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye now.